Let's see if anyone joins. This is part 3. This is me making up for the fact that Wednesday's live did not get saved for whatever reason. I don't know why Wednesday's live, the first part of Wednesday. Hi, Rael. I want to say that you're, like, I always pronounce your name wrong, I feel like. I always see you and I'm like, I know you're so excited for Fully Nourished, and it's almost done, you guys. Probably by the end of next week. I'm trying to, like, I've been working on it all day. I literally, like, stayed in the whole of my office, and I started at, like, 6 a.m., and it was, like, 9 p.m., and I'm, like, staring at my screen, like, oh my God. You know, like, you know, when you like work all day and you're just like, oh my gosh, like I'm shriveling up and dying. Instagram was weird on Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, thank you. Because I was like, it must be me. Like maybe they're just like, it's me. But okay, I'm so glad. So I know, Elena, you asked about libido. If your libido is low, like, oh shit. Yeah, libido is a direct reflection of the energy production in your cells. Many times, if your energy production is low, meaning your T3 is low, your stress is high, your body's utilizing resources for other things like survival, your body's not going to want to have you spend any energy on reproduction or sexual encounters. So it's very important to acknowledge that libido is the best reflection of your vitality and your health. A high libido and a high appetite are the two greatest indicators that your metabolism is working really, really, really well. Low appetite and low hunger means if you don't need fuel in the tank, the body ain't using fuel. Same thing with libido. If you are not craving reproduction, your body's not down to reproduce right now, or it's very unlikely. It's probably low progesterone, probably high estrogen, or there could be some constipation issues going on. A lot of women that are constipated find that they have a low libido, or liver flow, like liver and bile flow. There's just not estrogen getting out of the body properly. So those are all things to think about. But really, like, we have to start to see our libido and our appetite as the sign of like vitality and voraciousness, right? Like we really want to have a good libido and we really want to have a great appetite. Like healthy girls have healthy libidos and healthy appetites. I was painting my bedroom and stopped to listen to this live. Thank you so much. This truly helps. Oh, I'm so glad. And you can listen to it. You don't have to watch it. Like you can listen to it. I'm just talking, right? So you can paint if you want. But yeah, I wanted to just finish up questions. I always feel bad when I know like I get behind on the questions and I'm just like, oh, you know, like, Oh, Elena said, I'm regular in the bathroom like clockwork. That's good. It doesn't always matter, though, if you're not getting good bile flow from the liver. So, yeah, you want to be carrying out the waste for sure, but you also want to make sure that junk is getting out of the liver and into the bile. So that can definitely be an issue. But, yeah, I mean, usually regularity is a good sign. Is lemon water okay in the morning? Yeah, it's wonderful. I'll usually do some type of elixir in the morning, whether it's like apple cider, apple cider vinegar and lemon and some raw honey, or like my chlorophyll lemonade, or I'll do like I call it my fire tea, which is ginger tea, which really helps with digestion and just kind of like helps with inflammation and just getting your appetite going. So I think lemon in the morning is wonderful. It's really great. Vitamin C is really great for moving bile and moving the liver. I've been overworking, I think, so higher than average stress, sleep good. Yeah, I mean, if you're stressed and you're overworking, I mean, for sure. Same here. Like, I've been working serious, like, 13-hour days some days, and it's just, like, by the end of the day, I'm just, like, oh my gosh, like exhausted. I just want to binge on Netflix. I don't want to do anything. My libido is sky high, and to lose it after I lower my androgens and get rid of PCOS. Yeah, I mean, high androgens can cause a high libido in women with PCOS, but that doesn't always mean that you're going to lose it when you lower the androgens. I mean, yeah, like it can be a side effect of high androgens, but you can get your libido high with other things like progesterone and, proper thyroid function is really important for libido, and just overall making sure you're eating enough protein, carb, and fat regularly, keeping stress low, that kind of thing. Low hemoglobin from an extended period. What's a good range for women? I try to eat liver and beef, gelatinous foods, and I got it to 9.6 from 7 because of your advice. Awesome. So if it's keeping moving in the right direction, remember, like when we want to see progress, we actually do want to see progress slowly because that means things are truly improving. I know we live in a culture where it's like, if the results aren't instant, it's not a good thing. But if we, like, for example, when it comes to iron, if we just supplement iron, we're feeding pathogens, and we might see that reflected on our test that iron is higher, right? But the minute you stop supplementing it, what happens? They just go right back low because you didn't fix the problem. Whereas you're seeing that slow improvement is good. And even if it's still low, as long as it's moving in the right direction, you're gonna get it up naturally, and then it's probably gonna stay higher. When iron is low, something else you can consider is sometimes low thyroid function can lead to low iron. And many times people see the minute that they raise their thyroid function, ooh, look at that, they now have normal iron levels. Or they're not absorbing it because their stomach acid is low. They're not breaking down iron-rich foods, and so they're not absorbing it. So there are definitely like some things that should be looked into before we just supplement iron. I think I've heard you talk about topical cream for hirsutism, but I didn't remember what it was and what brand. Sometimes there have been people, now I always say I've never experimented with this, so I'm not sure, but high DHEA put on topically, which is a hormone, is a precursor hormone, can help with hirsutism. I've only heard that. I've never experimented with it, and I haven't looked deeper into it, but women have said it really, really helps. There's been like women that say like matcha can help. Like there's a skincare brand called Coco Kind Skincare, and they have like a matcha stick and a turmeric stick, and people say that sometimes helps with hirsutism, but I think that maybe something a little more potent is probably beneficial, and so I've heard that topical DHEA can help. Don't take my word for it. I would look into it a little more. I gotta do that. I'm actually gonna do a blog post on hirsutism coming up here soon, so I'm gonna like dig really into the research, but I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Gelatinous foods help with iron levels. Well, yeah, I mean, you're actually supporting your thyroid, you're supporting your liver. Iron levels are rarely low. They're usually always, there's something going on in the regulation of iron. It's in the tissues. If you have low stomach acid, you can definitely have low iron, and supplementing amino acids, specifically from gelatinous foods, can help raise iron levels. And can you do an article on libido? This is fascinating stuff. Of course, I am actually like, once Fully Nourished is out, the blog's gonna be like a whole different ball game, and so is my YouTube channel. So I'm really excited for, this is, me and my assistant call it the year of content. Like this year is gonna be the year of content. What is the cause of slow healing wounds besides diabetes? Well, imbalanced blood sugar, but high cortisol. If your stress is high, you can have slow healing wounds. Because think about it, you're in a survival state. Why would your body prioritize healing something quickly when you are literally running from an angry bear and might die at any moment? You know what I mean? Like, you have to think of being under stress or having high cortisol as my body is in survival. What is it prioritizing? Well, it's prioritizing just getting through and surviving the day. Amazing. I understand course creation is so time intensive. Yeah, definitely, especially when you're running a full-time practice. Like my course is being worked on my free time right now, which is crazy. So I've like, yeah, it's definitely a tough, but it's great. I love being a business owner. No question, just so glad I found you on Instagram. You've helped me tremendously. I'm so happy, you guys. And I sometimes feel bad because sometimes I feel like I'm not helping you enough. Like, it's so, I know this can be like so confusing and overwhelming, which is why I like really wanted to compile it into a course, because I really want you to sit down, be able to go through lessons, rewind them, write notes, have handouts, have a recipe guide, nutrition guide, have just access to a forum where we can talk, and just like be able to really go through the basics, have them laid out in front of you as much as you need to, and then have, be able to take that information and implement it into action, which is what I'm going to help you do, but then also know enough about your own body to tweak things to be very specific and unique to you, because you are unique. I had the weight loss surgery called duodenal switch. I've been using your tips and tricks to optimize my health, but there's a part of my mind that worries that these things won't work the same way. Yeah, so I'm not super familiar with the duodenal switch. I'm assuming it's like some type of gastric bypass or some kind of gastric sleeve, but I'll definitely look into it. I'm actually going to write it down, because whenever you guys ask something I don't know, I'll be honest with you and just say I honestly don't know everything, but I'm happy to look into it and to research it because I want to know. So, it's one of those things when you've had like gastric bypass or some type of stomach surgery, you do have to acknowledge that, you are missing out on some important parts of a digestive function. Every single cell in your body does play a role, and we will just be real here and acknowledge that. However, the body's very resilient and will usually kind of, manipulate itself to optimally function even when under that type of stress. And so I would challenge you to really get real. If that surgery bypasses your whole duodenum, look into what happens in the duodenum when it comes to enzymes, bile flow, those kinds of things. Because my biggest worry with stomach surgeries is that you're not getting enough hydrochloric acid to stimulate bile flow, which can be a big issue with hormonal health. So you want to make sure, regardless of what has been manipulated in your digestive tract, to make sure your stomach is optimally functioning, making sure that bile flow was not cut off from the gallbladder, and whether you have to manually stimulate those things by taking ox bile or taking hydrochloric acid, just make sure you clear it with your doctor. When it comes to surgery, you have to be extra careful to make sure that your doctor gives you the A-OK, because the surgeon knows exactly what happened with your surgery. And then, your goal is just to make sure that everything I talk about here is still happening for you. Even if you're missing out on a part of your intestine, you can usually find enzymes or ox bile or pancreatin or hydrochloric acid that can stimulate what might be lost. So don't fear, don't stress about it. It is what it is because it's done, right? Now we have to actually figure out what we're going to do about it. So let's not put our energy into worrying and being, just like worrying, and just face it head on, figure it out, and put that energy into optimizing your health to the best of your ability. Because what's the point of really worrying about something that you can't change anyways, right? Just going to cause more stress. What is the right way to use progesterone after menopause? Same. So, you can take it all cycle long. There's nothing wrong with that. It can be actually kind of helpful to mimic like a female cycle for you. Even if you're menopausal, it doesn't matter. You can still mimic your cycle, but you can kind of look into that. There's no right or wrong way. Some women take it every single day during menopause because they feel awesome, and some women try to, mimic that cycle. But either way is fine. What are some key thyroid tests besides TSH, T3, and T4? So to me, a full thyroid panel includes TSH, T3, T4, free T3, free T4, reverse T3, because that's a huge one. A lot of people forget that one, and you have to remember that your body, that cortisol, can turn T3 into reverse T3, which is pretty inactive. And so if you have high reverse T3, the body's under stress and is actually turning T3 into reverse. So reverse T3, and then your antibodies can be helpful as well, like TPO or the other ones I'm spacing, the 2 antibody tests. And remember, you guys, if you can't get a full thyroid panel from your doctor, you can get a really good priced one from Life Extension. Life Extension is actually a really great place to run lab tests on yourself if your doctor won't run specific lab tests. You can pretty much order anything under the sun there. And they're really like some great prices, and they sometimes have really awesome sales. Like sometimes there's like, it's 75% off. Like I remember the other day a full thyroid panel was like, I think $111, which I know it's like still $111. I'm not saying that that's not a lot, but like most full thyroid panels, if you're going to run them on your own, are going to be like $200, $300, $400. So you can find them for like a fairly relative low cost. My boyfriend has issues with breathing through the nose. His sense of smell is amazing, but it's like he's been having a cold for the past 3 years. He also has eczema. Is this an allergy thing? It can actually be a candida thing, or like a sinus blockage of fungus or yeast. A lot of people will do the Somnifix, like the lip taping or the mouth taping, to see if they can get their body to breathe through the nose. But if he can't like functionally breathe through the nose, then he might have to do like some kind of sinus rinse to rinse out the sinuses of those biofilms. You could type in Dave Asprey sinus rinse. He has one that has like xylitol, iodine, like a few like antifungal type things for the sinuses. So that's like a good plan. But overall, I think I got through all the questions. I'm going to do a last call for questions. Usually this third time is just like I finish up all the questions that were being asked. And then if you guys don't have any more questions, I just appreciate your time. This is like, if you just got to this live, there's 2 other lives. So there's 2 hours of lives up. And these will be uploaded onto YouTube as well. So don't worry. Sometimes my lives don't save for whatever reason from it's Instagram's fault. And so that's why I'm really actively trying to get YouTube going so that I can go live on YouTube and really more control that. Opinion on estrogen dominance and histamine. Yeah, they are one, I don't want to say they're one and the same, but they pretty much feed into each other. Most women with estrogen dominance have histamine issues, and it's why they have histamine issues. So your body can't clear histamine because you have too much inflammation. And what drives inflammation? Well, gut issues drive inflammation, gut imbalances, dysbiosis, meaning certain bacteria have kind of gotten opportunistic and others have not. And remember, bacteria are actually responsible for breaking down histamine. And then estrogen drives inflammation, which is going to overburden the body so it can't clear histamine. Histamine in itself is not bad. It's actually an amino acid that's used for a neurotransmitter, and that is used for a lot of things. Something as simple as creating stomach acid, what am I trying to say? Needs histamine. You need histamine to do so many things in the gut. It's just, if you can't clear it, there's an issue going on. And usually it's because of estrogen, actually. So really working on estrogen dominance and working on inflammation usually ends up leaving you with improved histamine issues. Thank you for acknowledging my duodenal switch question. I think I made a mistake at a younger age 5 years ago, and I actually wish I could have it reversed. Yeah, sometimes we do. I think sometimes as we learn to know our bodies better, or we kind of we know things now that we probably wouldn't have, made the same decision if we knew what we knew now. And it's okay to acknowledge that, but I wouldn't stress about it or regret it too much. It's one of those things where, well, my younger self made this decision and now I have to live with it. It is why I try to educate and empower women as much as possible, because I have found that there are a lot of women that make decisions that cannot be reversed. And they made it because they felt like they were hopeless or desperate, or is the only option that they were provided with, and that's not their fault, right? It's not your fault. It's the system's fault. It's how it's set up. And so don't be too hard on yourself. Just know that now it's time to kind of figure it out. My friend is thinking about a tummy tuck. Lipo, is this horrible? Well, it's kind of one of those things that you guys have to understand. Going under general anesthesia is a huge thing. It's not something that should just be taken lightly. I understand that surgical intervention is sometimes necessary. I'm not a lot of people think that natural practitioners are anti-Western medicine. I'm actually pretty neutral on the subject. I think there are a lot of things that are treated wrong or not looked at properly, but certain things are necessary. When it comes to plastic surgery in particular, it can be really stressful on the body. But a tummy tuck, to me, implants are probably the worst, and Botox injections are 2 of the worst things that women do to themselves. Implanting any type of plastic or silicone or even water near the breast, or any type of foreign object near your breast tissue and your heart is quite dangerous. No matter what anyone says, I think our common sense tells us anything implanted under the chest is something that should be taken seriously. And then Botox, or botulism, which is a poison, is a neurotoxin, and we're injecting it into our face, acting like the face is not connected to the whole body. Botulism or Botox couldn't possibly make it to our brain, even though our brain's right here, or our nervous system, which starts right here. Right? And so it's kind of one of those things where those are kind of my 2 that I really recommend women do their research and be very careful with. But I can see why a tummy tuck might make someone feel better, especially after a lot of children, if you feel like your stomach is so stretched out. But if you're doing it to lose weight, you have to acknowledge that lipo and tummy tucking, it might fix the aesthetic issue, but it's not fixing the internal issue. And so many women that get tummy tucks and lipo, they just gain it all back, right? Because they're just sucking fat cells out of their body, and then estrogen is just making new ones. So it's like one of those things where it's a quick fix for sure, and if you want the aesthetics done, but if you're not fixing why you're gaining weight so rapidly or can't lose weight, thyroid issues, estrogen dominance, lack of progesterone, those are still going to result in issues long term. What brand of MSM would you recommend? I'm not really sure of the brand. I just always say, so there's one manufacturer of MSM, and all supplement companies get their MSM from one company. It's called Opti MSM. So you want to make sure that your MSM is Opti MSM, and there are many companies that do it. I prefer just a straight MSM powder. I honestly would try to stay away from fillers as much as possible when it comes to your supplements. Maybe I missed it, but did you answer my question on progesterone after menopause? Yes, in my last live I did, and it was pretty much that you can take it, or I think I answered at the first part of this live. You can pretty much take it how you prefer. If you want to mimic the natural female cycle, day 14 to 28, you can kind of just pretend. I always say that if you don't have a cycle, whether you have amenorrhea or you are menopausal, you can just go by the cycle of the moon. So treat like the new moon as your period and the full moon as your ovulation, or vice versa, if you want to kind of mimic a cycle, or you can also take it every day. There's nothing wrong with it. You're welcome, Kayreen. Thanks for saying thank you. What is a good deodorant to use without aluminum? So the thing with antiperspirants and any type of deodorant that's like a conventional deodorant is that it's made with synthetic aluminum, which is very small molecules that can make it into your cells. Not good, right? We don't want aluminum being absorbed. Whereas natural aluminum chloride can be, the molecules are bigger, and so they're not absorbed as easily. I personally use the crystal salt rock deodorant that you wet and you put on wet skin. I don't, it is still technically aluminum, but they're bigger natural molecules, so you're not absorbing as many. But there are natural deodorants on the market, like Primally Pure and Fatco and Native. Those are all good deodorants as well. I just don't like that they stain my clothes. They have like coconut oil base or beeswax base or just some type of oily base, and for me it just makes me feel kind of sticky and grimy, and it always stains my shirts, and I just can't handle it. Like I just can't. It just bothers me so much. So I kind of choose something in the middle that's not gonna make me stain my shirts. A lot of women do use magnesium oil or magnesium, like milk of magnesia put into a roller bottle, and say they swear by it. I haven't tried it yet, but I have some milk of magnesia in my Amazon cart right now. So yeah, there's lots of options, and you don't necessarily have to use like a natural deodorant. What would you recommend for healing emotional trauma? Okay, first of all, check out the page called The Holistic Psychologist. She's awesome, and her stuff hurts, but like in a good way. And I don't know, like she talks about how talk therapy is not probably always the best, like just constantly talking through your issues is kind of solidifying them in your mind. Like it's good to get it out, right? And it's like good to talk about it, but then be done. Don't continue to solidify the issues over and over and over. But I think a therapist can be really helpful. It's just kind of about finding the right therapist, which is really hard to do. And then I personally, for me, like I've experienced some definite trauma, especially as a young girl sexually. And for me, like really just journaling and meditation and deep breathing and really like getting real with myself and being alone with myself is something that is really helpful. I, constantly work on just self-awareness and allowing emotions to come up. I'm this type of person that's just like a go-getter, like someone that will like shove emotions down, and it comes out, it's like, vomit. Like it's just, I blow up at people, or I that's something that I'm aware of, and like I work on it more and more. but it's, and I'm bad at communicating. So I like try to communicate what I'm feeling, even if it's like over communication, like overkill. For me, it's helpful to like force myself to communicate when I'm really good at stuffing my emotions down. So overall, like I think finding what works for you is probably the best. Like some people do well with talk therapy, some people don't. Some people do well with journaling and some people don't. But there are definitely a lot of resources out there to kind of figure that out. I have lymphedema. Are there any foods that are good to support my damaged lymph system in my legs? So edema is usually caused by hyperhydration, like if you're overhydrating, and then potassium deficiency can really be an issue. So really focusing on potassium. And then lymph drainage massage is also helpful, as well as things that stimulate the lymph system, like doing rebounding on a mini trampoline. Doing body brushing is another one. So yeah, there's definitely some things that you can do to move your lymph. Supplements before surgery or being put under, alternative to surgery for a uterine polyp. I don't know about alternatives. It's kind of between you and your doctor and your surgeon. I do recommend whenever it comes to surgery to get a second and a third opinion always, because sometimes doctors will kind of clash. Like one doctor will say you must get a surgery now, and then one doctor says, well, you probably need a surgery in the next 6 months. And so it makes you feel like, oh, it's a little less urgent. But if you have like gotten multiple opinions and it's pretty much across the board that there is a, you need to get that removed, it's kind of like just get it removed and then work on your estrogen dominance once you're done, because uterine polyps are usually caused by estrogen issues, since estrogen damages that uterine tissue. Before surgery, it's really important to really support your liver, like leading up 3 to 4 weeks before, chlorophyll and milk thistle. You just have to really clear everything with your surgeon. Remember, there are herbs that can really thin your blood or mess with surgery, and so you have to make sure your doctor knows exactly what you are taking. And then vitamin K is very important for blood clotting. So vitamin K is really helpful in making sure your surgery is very successful. And then also all around, just making sure you're getting enough of healing food. So lots of protein, collagen, gelatin, things like that. Just making sure you're really supporting the body's ability to heal. Can lipedema be reversed? Well, any type of edema can I don't want to say be reversed, but there's definitely a reason why the tissues and the cells have swelled with water. It's usually a mineral imbalance for sure. But usually you can see help. There's things that you can do for any type of edema issues. Absolutely. All right, guys, I've been live for I think 2.5 hours, so I'm gonna wrap this up, but I appreciate your time. And remember, if you didn't get around to asking me a question, make sure that you save it, write it down in your notes in your phone so you can ask me at my next live. If you can't make it to my lives, I'm always happy to answer your questions. If you just submit them in the DMs like the day before, I always go live on Wednesdays and I always go live on Fridays. So unless I say differently, I will always be live. So you guys will always get your questions answered, even if I don't get around to them in this Q&A. You can always ask them next Q&A. But I love you guys. Have a good weekend. I usually take Saturdays and Sundays off, or at least I try to. If I don't post, I will probably see you on Monday. But enjoy your weekend and love your bodies and love yourself.